Alright, goodbye Fitzroy Reef. Thanks for giving me a pretty restful sleep and a stopover. The weather's going to be very ordinary for some time, so I'm making a dash back to the mainland, and right now I'm in the lee of the reef, so there's not much swell. Well, there's no swell, just a bit of chop, and I'm up for 35 nautical miles sail. I'm only putting the jib up just because I'm a bit nervous about being out here all by myself. There's no other boats around because I think the weather's going to get even worse over the next few days. So making a dash back, and being as safe as I can, and yeah, anyway, 7-hour sail all day. It's the day after I sailed from Fitzroy Reef to Pancake Creek, and look, it was a full-on sail. It took about 6 hours, and I was in 3-meter swell and roughly 30 knots of wind for most of the sail. And but what happens is white caps are on the water. Now, normal white caps are fine. They're about 1 meter wide and not very high, and they roll for about 1 meter or so, and they're fine. They were everywhere, but I got hit by about 6 of these waves that were about 10 meters long, would roll for like 30 meters, and were quite high. And the boat that hit the side of the boat, and bang, and the whole boat would like bounce, well, not bounce, but would be pushed about 20 degrees to starboard. And when the autopilot would self-correct, and it would take this massive wave over the top, and I'd duck under, and sometimes I didn't, and just get saturated like the wave came over the top of the boat. I basically I was leaning at about 30 degrees most of the day, sitting up here, and my feet were locked down there for most of the day. A couple of times I had to come inside because I wanted to check navionics, and I'm standing. I could not stand on the floor. It was on such an angle. I tucked my bum under there so I could stay solid. I'd have a look at navionics. I'd climb back in, and yes, I definitely had my life jacket strapped to me, and I was strapped into the cockpit the whole time I was out. But anyway, it's time for unclean boat bits. So what happened was, I'm taking waves over, this side of the boat, on the port side of the boat, and mainly at the front because we're beating up into the wind. So the bow would take these big waves, and my hatch at the front, a little bit dodgy, but I didn't have the left hatch working properly, and the waves were coming in from the left-hand side of the hatch and just drenched my boat up the front here. So let's have a look. Unclean boat bits drying out now, and this was all, a nicely made bed and everything, and the water came down about 3 or 4 litres, I'd say. Came down and went under the bilge, underneath through here, wet these timbers, which I'll put outside to get dry from underneath. And look, when I came in, I was so tired. It really it took it out of me, that sail. But I came in and I did what I had to do, and first internet that I'd seen for quite some time, so I had to do what I had to do on the internet, and pay bills, check emails, all that sort of stuff. Posted posted a YouTube thing, and I was starving, hadn't eaten all day really, and starving, so I cooked up a steak and veg and a big plate, like a huge one, and big T-bone steak, and now it's unclean boat bits day because crap's everywhere. I've got stuff, and I've got to do dishes. I always do the dishes after I cook, but not last night. And I've got stuff hanging out to dry. As you can see, we're in the seat, or the bed I should say, drying out, towels. The board was up the front, it got wet, I didn't want to put that back in. And we're in beautiful Pancake Creek. I love this place, it's one of my favourites, definitely. And the wind was howling, as was predicted, as it was yesterday, and from a southeaster. And my next stop is 1770, and it is directly southeast from here. So, and then I have to, but then the wind should change, not tomorrow, the day after, to easterlies. They're the ones that I'm going to need to sail 50 nautical miles to get to Bundaberg. So that's a really long, epic trick. If I have to do at least 5 knots or more, and to do it in less than 10 hours. So I'll certainly be focused on that trip, and I'm sort of making my way back down home fairly quickly. The sightseeing sort of is lovely, but I'm not stopping off doing walks and all that sort of hoo-ha. I'm on my way home, sort of thing, and yeah. Anyway, a different one today. Unclean boat bits, but I like a clean boat, so we're pulling it all out, drying it all off, putting it all back in, and cleaning floors, showering, which will be lovely. I didn't have one last night, and or yesterday morning, because I just had to go, you know. Anyway, I better get these sheets before they go flying, turn into kites. All right, thanks for watching Unclean Boat Bits. Hello there. Mojo and I, we left Pancake Creek this morning. We just decided to get up and go. I was going to go a little bit later in the day. Lucky, it turns out that way. I had to motor most of the way, straight dead into the wind. And but anyway, it took about 3 hours, so that's all good. Luckily, I headed off early because I tried anchoring outside 1770, which I've done before and it's been fine. But the run is so strong today. It's super high tides and super low tides, and I just couldn't grip. The sand anchor wouldn't grip into the sand. So luckily it was a run out tide, but there was enough, about half tide, so there was enough water for me to come in. I'm anchored right out to the front of the boat ramp, pontoon where everybody puts in, and so I'll hang here for the night and sneak out. The winds are going to switch to easterly, so I'll be able to sail south, hopefully to Bundaberg. Now, I did have, time by myself gives me time to think about things, and I got this friend. I've got these friends in Yeppoon, and little Levy's 10 years old, and he's mature beyond his years. And we're out fishing. We're catching fish off Middle Island, off Great Keppel, sorry, and catching fish. And he said, "Look, don't you get a bit lonely?" And I said to him, "No, not really. I keep in contact via the phone, and I meet people like you, and it's all good." But then I sailed out to Heron Island and then quickly shot up to Fitzroy Reef. And there was one other boat, and I was so happy that I was with that they were there. I just didn't. It was rough weather, super windy. The wind was coming in for another 2 or 3 days. I was just so happy that boat was there, because I was feeling a bit, isolated. And anyway, spent the night, and I thought, oh, they're probably going to stay a few more days as well. Four young people, lovely people. And anyway, they took off the next morning, and I'm out there anchored in this reef, and it was relatively safe, but the wind was coming in, and I felt so alone and isolated. I saw them heading off, and I just packed my stuff and left, and it was a pretty hard sail back, but it was okay. But I had that loneliness, that not scared, but isolated feeling, which it's not a very nice one. And and the other thing that makes me think is when I'm back in society and I'm surrounded by buildings, by roads, by signs, by everything that's man-made, there's very little nature there, just a few odd trees, people's gardens and whatever. There's not a lot of connection between you and the natural world. And you've got your house to isolate yourself in, cars, you've got your yard, you've got your suburbs and buildings and work, and all these things isolate you from nature, from what we've evolved in nothing but nature. So there's something in our makeup that requires it. But when you're out on the boat, you're surrounded by nature. Pretty much everything's nature, which is great. So you get the opposite effect. My little boat inside the cabin is a barrier between nature and me, and it's really quite important, because without that you're just exposed. You have none of those creature comforts. So it's quite the opposite effect of being in civilization, where you're striving to get outside, and on the boat, you spend plenty of time outside. You're striving to get inside into a safe, secure, restful environment. It's quite strange. It's funny how the brain takes months to detox from civilization and starts feeling calm. Anyway, we've evolved in nature. We keep seeking it out. Must be something in our brains that requires it. I'm at 1770, and the wind will hopefully come to favour tomorrow. I'll have to wait for the tide to come in till probably 10 o'clock, and then I'll be sailing roughly about 8 or 9 hours to get to Bundaberg. It'd mean a night entry into Bundaberg, which is okay. We've got heaps of moonlight at the moment, and the channel's well lit. So happy days. It's all cheery, peachy. Okay, I've just spotted a whale. We're actually on a collision path, so I hope it cannot hit me. Anyway, I'll keep going and hope it pops up again. That is so cool. We're both going the same direction, so I get to see its tail, the other side of its tail. It's going I hope I'm going faster so I can catch up to it. Right there. It's right next to me. It was a turtle, that one, but there is a whale. There he is out there. Just wanted to point out how well Mojo's sailing. So have a look out on the water with well less than 10 knots of wind, so I'll be guessing 7 or 8 knots, something like that. We're doing a speed of 5 point something or other knots just off Elliott Heads near Bundaberg. The sails are looking great, pulls tight, and have a look right up the top, the wind vane right at the top. It is, we're pointing so high into the wind, it's incredible. And just amazed with this boat sometimes. It's going as fast as the motor would be pushing it now, and in bugger all wind, pointing upwind, and just this boat astounds me sometimes. Teaches me a lesson every time I go out on it. Oh, there they are. Look at how good this is. Not sure what sort of birds these are. They're bigger than a seagull. They look pretty cool. Hey! Bye, birds. Now check out how calm and peaceful this water is. You can see there's barely a ripple on the water. It's well under 5 knots of wind. And just thought I'd show you what speed Mojo's doing. Almost 4 knots in bugger all wind. So this little boat can cruise through light winds beautifully. Anyway, we're heading towards Harvey Bay. Well, we're in Harvey Bay, heading towards Uranga Marina, and I'll go in there for the night, get groceries, diesel, water, clean up the outside of the boat, that sort of stuff. I'm also having dinner with a friend of mine, Rhiannon, who's a principal up here, and back in my old principal days, she was at a school at one end of the island of the Torres Strait. I was at school at the other end of the island in the Torres Strait, and we were pretty lucky because we're the only island with 2 schools on it, the biggest island up there. So that was pretty cool. But anyway, on a different sort of floating island, the wind is just dropping off to nothing. So if it gets any less, if we do less than 3.5 knots, I'll kick her in the guts and put the engine on. Anyway, let's hope I catch a fish too. Wrong one. A21, not C21. Well, Mojo and I are crossing the Wide Bay Bar at so Inskip Point over there, and we have Fraser or Gary Island over there, and we have the Pacific Ocean out there, and Tin Can Bay over there. So I've just got the jib up, well the genoa up, front sail, because we're pushing against the current, and the wind's favourable, very slight, so it gives us a little extra get up and go. I have closed up everything there. I've got my life jacket and I'm strapped in. Of course, I've got the I've got the inflatable down there so it can't get swept off the deck. I've purposely put the cover over the mainsail, so if we were to take a wave, the cover would really just cut through the wave. It's zipped at the front, whereas if the sail was sticking out, it you know, it might catch on a bit of water and tear or whatnot. But after looking, that was this morning, but now when I look at the bar, there's hardly even a wave out there. It's looking very calm, very serene, so I like it when Wide Bay Bar is super calm, because it is one of the bars I worry about. It's about 5 nautical miles to cross it, which is about 8 kilometres. So it takes about an hour to get across it, and because I'm punching into the current, it might take me a bit more. But I'm pretty sure today, after looking at it, I don't think I've got any worries about swell, which is great, just wonderful. Anyway, back on track. Inskip, Kari. There's heaps of dolphins through here, but every time I go to film them, they sort of dive down deep and disappear. It wasn't a pilot whale, it was a dugong. It popped up just beside me, but of course the camera was off. Anyway, pretty cool to see those things are still around, and I don't know what they'd be doing in the sandy part though, but I guess there must be seaweed they're finding. Anyway, happy days. Over there is Inskip Point, and a few years ago, and it's still happening, probably every year, they lose a chunk of land from the campground to sinkholes, and I guess the water comes through and undermines the sand and it gets washed out and it's sort of a hole. Technically it is a sinkhole, but not in traditional form, I guess. But anyway, that's where we're heading, Double Island Point. I'll spend the night there and then rest up, because I've got 2 or 3 big sails, at least 50 nautical miles each day, and into a headwind as well, so we'll be tacking, pointing up in the wind and tacking. But seem to have southwesterly winds at the moment, which is what I had coming down here, but they're very calm. They're probably not strong enough to sail in, and because I have to do at least 5 knots, otherwise I can't make the trip in under 10 hours. Anyway, I don't like sailing at night, so I push to the destination. If that needs the motor, well, that needs the motor. Back in, this is Wide Bay Bar, looking peaceful and calm, which is just lovely. Just saw a whale over there. Turned it off. I reckon he might swim towards me. here we have the beautiful Double Island Point, and it's spectacular. However, this time it's even better than last time. We don't have much of a swell at all today. It's very small, so hopefully I don't have a rolly night's sleep. That'll be nice. The water is crystal clear, so it's lovely. The sand dunes, as you can see, man, they have fallen in big time since I was here last time. The sand is just dropping off those hillsides all the way along, and all the trees that were down the bottom are now covered in landfill, I guess. I don't know, sand and soil and whatnot. But just thought I'd point out the bloke in the boat over there. He's from Latvia and solo sailing, and I said, he said, oh yeah, he was down the Gold Coast and had a mooring at Cabbage Tree Point near Jacob's Well on the Gold Coast, $50 a week. And I thought, wow, that's pretty good. And I said, oh, I've been up through the Sandy Straits and up to Keppel Islands, feeling pretty chuffed about myself, quite proud of my achievement. And he said, oh yeah, I've sailed across the Atlantic and the Pacific, and I've sailed up the East Coast, and I'm heading north now. And it just blew me away, solo sailing, and you know, everything's in perspective. But anyway, just thought I'd say that it's not all peaches and creams. I putting out the anchor, and it was dragging, so I had it in reverse and just wasn't dragging, so I went up and let out. Silly me, I kept it in reverse, and I thought I'll just let out more line and wait for it to grab, and it was doing all right and letting it out. Then I decided to hook it up, but I got my fingers caught between the line, the anchor rope, and you know, and lost a bit of skin but didn't break any bones, so that was happy. And so I got out of that well, and I learned a lesson. Put in neutral before you do that sort of stuff. Don't sort of cut that corner, I guess. And over there you'll see all across here is too shallow to get through. All over there's a yellow buoy you probably can't see from over there. There is a thin channel. I could probably get this boat, if I was staying here for 3 or 4 days, I'd probably sneak in there at high tide and get into the lake, you know, because it is a centerboard. I only need like a metre, and I know last time I was here, people were up to chest deep at high tide in the little channel, and the very small channel that there is to go across. So for practical reasons, it's really not worth going to the lake there. I'm heading off tomorrow morning, but is it possible for me? Yes. Is it worth it? No. And but anyway, Double Island Point, beautiful place, absolutely spectacular. All right, this cool boat bit is probably more designed for the owners of Nolex 30s or people with one of these toilets. Now, they're notorious for getting little blockages, so you use special toilet paper, but even still, you need to get rid of just a little bit of it. Or a lot of the time, when you have urine and salt water, it creates this calcium which builds up over a long period of time and sort of messes with your toiletry system. So I've got this cool little pump, I guess, that I bought for $10 from Bunnings, and it pumps everything out, pumps air through the system, or water, I guess, and unblocks anything. But also when it's time to store your boat for a little bit, and you know, you don't want that salt water building calcium up in that system. So this is a great way to pump all the water out, and you're left with a system that's good to go the next time you want to use it. So let's have a look at my little pump. Hopefully it helps somebody out there. $10 from Bunnings. Bit hard to do with one hand, but stick it in the bottom, pump it out, and you'll hear all the bubbling and gurgling. Gets rid of all the water, gets anything that's clogged in the system, keeps your hands clean too, which is great. And yeah, really cool. $10, the best little buy from Bunnings for this boat. Yeah. Anyway, definitely A cool boat bit